All right, I got Richard Blank with me today, and I'm excited to hear his journey in life. I know you shared that you're a telemarketer, you have a company and all that stuff going on, and I
Yeah.
yeah, we had a previous conversation of how you're pretty close to where I'm at currently, right? Or we were raised anyways, and you moved from here. So would you mind just starting with, where you came from and then how'd you get to where you are today? Because I know where you are now, physically, geographically, but the viewers and the listeners don't know at the moment.
Pure momentum. When I was a little boy back in Northeast Philadelphia, I loved Spanish. So going on vacation, I'd come back with a 10 and 20 new vocabulary words. But here's the thing, the Latino community was giving me such positive reinforcement and balancing my grammar and vocab that when you do something above and beyond outside a classroom, dedicated practice, you really have a commitment to it. So I decided to double down. When I graduated the proud Abington back in 91, I went to the University of Arizona in Tucson. I was a Spanish major. Did that for 5 years. I didn't do the 4-year plan. You got to be kidding. And when I graduated, I had some fun jobs, worked for the importers of Corona. And in college, I did Telemundo, which was fun. But when I was 27, John, I had a one in a million opportunity to move to Costa Rica back in August of 2000. And I got past parents' guilt. I was in between jobs and I decided to take a chance. And when I came here, I was working at my friend's center. It's only supposed to be for 2 months, but I learned the business from the inside out, not at sea level. And after 2 months, I said, "Hey, Joey, can I stay?" And he goes, "Richie, you got it." So tears of joy. I know I got past the reef and I was living a good life. And so I've been here 25 years. I learned the business. 18 years ago, I threw my hat in the ring, started my own company. We grew to 150 seats and it's been a good run. And, when you mention telemarketers, most people are like, "Oh man, he
Right.
called me at dinner time." I don't call you at dinner time. That's the movies. We handle different accounts. But I tell you what, maybe I can shatter some misconceptions today about my industry and hopefully add some spice.
Yeah, absolutely. And we could dive into that. But what were you thinking first before you went ahead and made that move to Costa Rica? Like that's a big shift in life. So what was going through your head at the time?
A hero's journey. We've all had fables as children. I wanted to leave a castle and slay a dragon and save a beautiful princess. And how are you going to do it? Most of your lives are set for you. There's a lot of family guilt and expectations, and friends and close relatives put fear into you. It's what they know and what's
Mhm.
expected of you. And I tell you what, Grandpa went to Harvard, my pops went to Columbia Business School. My brother went to Washington and Lee. Those are amazing schools. I didn't have those grades. I didn't have the structure and discipline. So why force the fit? And I was also being very realistic. And the one thing, my man, is being true to yourself. It's not like I was out there living in fantasy land. I was learning a second language. I started doing it at a young age. Just because all of my hockey friends couldn't do it doesn't mean it can't be done. And I also was smart. I said, if I'm the only one that can do this, maybe I'll get the business or I can get out of a burning building and the instructions are in Spanish. And so, and I thought Ricardo Montalban was cool from Fantasy Island because when you have an accent, it bears the mark of higher education. Also, it's like a beauty mark. So it's like the flip side. I had a Philly Spanish accent. So people would be like, that's cool. So at least people were more interested to speak with me. And so I wasn't afraid because, like a boxer, if you train, you're going to win, or at least you're going to go to the distance. And this is not game time playing, even though I was having fun in college and goofing around. You can't spin a second language, just like math and physics. You can't make it up. There's the results. And so I really needed to step up my game. And by doing so, sometimes you need to immerse yourself and live it, not just do
Yeah.
it as a pastime. You have to 100% be committed. And so by moving to another country, you have no choice. And so it kind of put me in the right place at the right time.
Yeah. Did you kind of separate yourself from a certain crowd or anything to kind of put you in this headspace that you have?
No, it was always a little unique, but I still know how to hang. But when everyone else is going to business school, medical, and law school, I was going to learn public speaking in Spanish in the subjunctive tense. And but what was interesting? They would do their homework and their assignments, but me, I was going out on dates and speaking Spanish, going watching movies and reading books. So
Mm.
I almost felt like a poet, a Renaissance man. I felt enriched. It was something that just didn't seem like a forced march, like some of my friends did that had to grind it out just to earn a living or to get the approval of their family. And so you sometimes in life, you're talking about check marks and the word check. You're checking yourself. There's checkpoints. You're checking levels and temperatures. And I just wanted to make sure, even though it wasn't a straight line and I'm zigging zagging life, that at least I was going in the right direction, where you see the light or you see the island. And I was okay with that. John, it was the long game, like the gym. Can't expect it in one day. You get the results after years of training. And so I understand that sort of commitment to myself. And I tell you what, you really get some good reinforcement. You feel good if you can speak for 10 minutes in the language, or you learn how to surf for the first time, or things click. And I was getting that every day. So imagine that sort of high. Plus, it was cool. I was making so many new friends that I never thought I could before. And so I was swept up in it. And I tell you what, you know how they talk about honeymoon stages? Mine
Mhm.
hasn't ended. Every day still feels like a Saturday.
Down there, yeah. That's
Yeah, of
pretty cool.
course.
That's awesome. I love it. Yeah, so I let's dive into telemarketing or whatever you want to talk about right there, right? So what's the misconception on that?
Well, let's just talk about the industry.
Okay.
Outsourcing is a huge industry, and if you get good at it, you can make a ton of money. And these are the sort of skills that you can use outside the office. And so, how about this? Hollywood glamorizes the telemarketer. Look at the Wolf of Wall Street, Boiler Room, Glenn Gary, Glenn Ross, the Prime Gig. I can talk them all. And they're very talented. And just like fire, it could be used for warmth and health, but also be used to burn you. I mean, think of Eminem in 8 Mile. His last rap was rapping all about himself, which took away all the power from the other person. So how intelligent was that? When you make yourself vulnerable and you do that sort of self-criticism, it only makes you that much more powerful. You're not really ripping on yourself, you're making yourself more real. Most people today are prints in plastic. Very rare to see a painting, see the actual brushstrokes and people's scars. And so I'm okay with that. It's the kind of thing where you need to make peace and liberate your mind. But it's easier said than done. I did a lot of selfish decisions to put me in this position. I should be at my family's real estate business back in Arizona, but I'm not. I decided to break the mold and to do something a little different. I could have always clicked my heels and gone home, but my run lasted longer than expected. I tell you what, you could say it's a 1 in a million shot and the stars are aligned, and I agree with both of those. But the only way to get there is to put yourself in that position. You have to be at the dance to walk across that floor to ask your princess to dance with you, and then the rest of your life is a dream. And so a lot of people say no because they've never done it. They're afraid, or they just don't want you to throw up on a roller coaster. But come on, man, John and I are going to get front row and do the loop de loops and have the best experience and high five. Man, life is made to be lived. And I've always seen people put these chains on you. Wait, to hold you back or to distract you, to make you feel bad, or to let you know it's too hard, Richard. I've heard that 1,000 times. Hard for what? I grind that stuff out, man, like Chuck Wepner did against Rocky. I'll go distance. I may not win the fight, but man, I'm going to get the respect of the crowd because they're going to see the heart that I have and the fact that, you try these things. And so people see the pure passion and the sincerity, and sometimes people become more empathetic that way and give you second and third chances, or adjust your grammar, adjust your vocabulary to make sure you don't make a fool of yourself. And so when I started this business here, I'm dealing with Costa Ricans. Amazon, HP, Intel, and Oracle are here, plus the large centers. So how do I compete? The old school way, my man. Just like our old favorite teachers and sports coaches, the ones I told you how to, save a hockey shot, hit a golf ball. I don't know. Just the ones that believed in you when you were most vulnerable and delicate. And so when I get these 24-year-old kids coming in, I'd rather have a freshman that's got no experience than a mercenary. They'll jump and become a cancer. There's no loyalty and they have bad habits. I'd rather take an 18-year-old kid wet behind his ears that's green so I can mold them like a squire or two a night. They have no bad habits. And what am I doing? I'm a linguist. English is our first language. It reminds me of Billy Madison playing dodgeball with fifth graders. Come on, man, you're talking about my language. Bless our personality. And so when I walked into my friend's center, it was almost like wiffle ball with a big red bat, underhand pitch. You're cranking them. I said, this is too easy. I just need to learn the tech side of it. And so I got the server room. I got the right people, and I did it slowly. How about this, John? I'll talk about telemarketing. Let me talk how I built my business.
Yeah, okay.
I was able to rent a turnkey station at a blended center because I didn't want to overextend myself and buy the equipment and rent out space. I was just building a business back in 2008. So row by row, station by station. I could pay for the overhead, pay the taxes, the salary, and make a margin. It wasn't pretty, but it was great. And so I did that for 2.5 years till I had the stability of the clients and the capital. Then I rented space and started building out row by row in the server room of companies that were going out of business because there's 80% import tax on these computers. So I pay that. And so I was able to strategically, through local contacts, get me some very good stuff at a fraction of the cost because I'm a growing business. I mean, I'm just not footloose and fancy free. And then 6 years after that, I had enough money to purchase a building and put a third floor on it. I don't know about you, but I love Art Deco. And I was always impressed with neon lights and marquees. And if you're ever going to do it once. And so I
There
did
you
that
go.
too. And so I hooked my building up with neon lights and vaulted ceilings. And it's beautiful here. It's not like a cramped boiler room that you're expecting. And so, at least aesthetically, it's pleasing. And that's how, through the 18 years, I never overextended, never had a mortgage, a bad partner, or had to make desperate decisions. Grandma said, if you can't do it in cash, act your wage and your pace. There's a chance you're not going to have that security. And so it's not as glamorous as you think it is. I'm sorry, I'm not that overnight success at 20 years old. But man, I'm old school. I just don't know how to say it. Just I'm grinding out the first downs. That's the only way I knew how to play.
Yeah, it's discipline and it's delayed gratification. That's what everybody needs to learn now more than ever because you see that everybody wants it at 20 or whatever. You know, they're all on TikTok or whatever they're doing and trying to make it big now, and that's their age. So you talked a little bit about the industry. You know, what's so you're a little bit different than everybody else. So how do you separate yourself besides like old school? What would that be?
Well, a lot of today, when you do receive a phone call from a telemarketer, it could be a robocall, but then these people are just reading their script. They got the life sucked out of them. There's no soft skills. And that's why, as you say, Hollywood, when you look at the Wolf of Wall Street and these talented speakers, it looks like a beautiful dance. It is, but it's not that difficult. It's just practice. All you need to do is just listen and take good notes, replace sir and use people's names. I mean, I always think about adjustments of tone. You should always be confident and empathetic. You should mirror image, not people's micro expression readings. We're talking about over the phone. These are sight unseen, which is even stronger because it's non-visual. So you should be paying attention to their speed and their speaking levels because the fast talker in New York might be loud walking down the street on a cell phone, but then I could be calling Mrs. Grandma Country Time Lemonade out in Oklahoma, then you better slow that speed down a little bit. I mean, I'm speaking obvious, but some people are so cookie cutter, they just don't readjust themselves. A little bit of due diligence prior to a phone call helps you anchor. You can find 10 things in common. That's nice to do. I like positive escalations. If somebody assists you prior to getting transferred and gives you the pass to fist, John, I'm going to let you know that your assistant Judy was incredible. I'm going to do it verbally and in writing. So when I am calling your company back, you get a hero's welcome from the person that answers the phone. Instead of just immediately asking for you, I'm just going to do a company name spike. Nice Checkmark podcast. How are you today? I'm not going to say, is John there or this is Richard Blank? You got to be kidding me. They're so black and blue from all these phone calls. Their negative reinforcement would be, is this a phone call or how'd you get my name? Take me off your list. F you. Compared to who's this?
Right.
That's a positive reinforcement. And then I use a buffer boomerang technique. I go, John, that's a great question. My name is Richard Blank. Then you're going to do a follow up and you say, Richard Blank. Yeah, Richard Blank, the owner of Costa Rica's call center. And so it's a way to reduce defense, and you can reduce that defense mass from, let's say, to a 10 to a 6 and take that 4 and use that to your assertiveness and forward motion. I'm telling you, if you pay attention to rhythm and pausing and listening and reaction, people click pens, they have object and self adapters, they make noises. These are incredible tell signs. And it's kind of funny when you close your eyes and you're supposed to expand your senses. I'm losing my taste, touch, and smell over the phone. So obviously my hearing should be expanded. When I close my eyes, I should hear dogs in the background, Jimi Hendrix, you clicking a pen, writing or tapping just as a reinforcement to what I'm saying. And secondly, you should be expanding on your descriptive vocabulary. I argue with people that you do have your visual sense over the phone because imagination is there through descriptive vocabulary and colorful speech. You can't taste it over the phone, but I can have you close your eyes and I can talk about a purple elephant and you'll see it. It's incredible. So I say, once again, make your vocabulary much more lucid for them. Like, let me give you a simple example of an adjustment of tone. And since my students are English second language, we discussed the thesaurus so I can increase their similes. And so we will replace a word like help with assist, guide, and my favorite, lending a hand, which is a visual. And so that's how, and my way, how I could separate myself just in a quickie from other call centers that don't extend that sort of colorful speech, engagement, first call resolution, reduced talk time. I mean, the sort of positive escalations we get from the client saying this was the greatest experience I had, because most of the time I have to repeat myself to hang up on me and I hate them. And so AI will be replacing a good portion of my industry through gathering, but they will never replace the true empathy that can happen between a client and a customer.
That's very true. Yeah. And so I see where you're separating from the masses, right? I don't know how many companies there are out there doing this. You know, like I thought it was almost like dead. I get phone calls sometimes and I just let it go and it goes right to voicemail right away. Like it's a quick, like hangs up kind of and goes right to voicemails. Do you when you're making calls like this, do you find that a lot happening to you or do you get connections pretty quick?
As I say, it really depends on the list. You can give somebody a Glenn Gary, Glenn Ross list and anybody can close. I mean, these are
Yeah.
the hot leads, and a lot of the times your list could be old, outdated, the information. I mean, you need people's names or sometimes email addresses and proper phone numbers. And sometimes if you call, they were like, how come you don't have this already? And so when people buy very cheap lists or things are just so old, it makes it difficult. But if someone opts in to receive information, where they show interest somewhere and they click and open an email, those are or warmer leads. And I think there's nothing wrong with making a follow-up courtesy call to somebody, unlike other companies that just send emails or omni-channel non-voice support like chat and texting. John and I make a courtesy call, and then you could back it up by saying, hey, I hope you don't mind me taking the liberty of doing that. Some people say, yes, I do. I prefer one way, or others like, it's actually quite refreshing to speak to somebody right now. It's kind of the renaissance it's having again. And so if you need to leave a voicemail for somebody, it depends on the depth and the grade of the lead. But I always believe that, remember the old game Mad Libs? You could replace two or three words and something that changes the whole
Oh
thing.
yeah.
Yeah, you can have your voicemail and email template. But if you start putting sir and making it cookie cutter, that thing's in the trash. But if you write to me, hey, pinball collector, man, I'm actually going to read that. Hey, Philly boy, I'm going to look at that too. And so it's an eye catcher. So just a second's worth of due diligence will give you two or three anchors to at least get their attention for you to be able to potentially increase that return. And so people are just lazy. They carpet bomb and expect 0.5% of something. Well, if you finesse it, you might be able to get some better results out of it. And you can't judge yourself to the average because, my man, you and I are not average. Either we're better or we're worse. I just
Hmm.
never see myself as the middle. It's one or the other. And so make your choice. But for me, the bottom line is it is an art of speech. And I think if somebody does work on this craft to become much more self-reliant, they can save a marriage, save a Thanksgiving dinner, make best friends, and possibly be the one to speak for 20 people if they are mushmouth or they are frustrated and have no impulse control. And so I tell you, man, if you're not smart, learn how to speak. You might still be able to get a job selling something.
Yeah, your communication skills definitely increases just like your sharing. I get that. I follow that. So you would love to take kids that are like 18 years old or whatever and start them fresh, right? How long do you see them progressing to get to a level where you think they're pretty good, like they're set on their ways, they know what they're doing?
Depends on, wow, from sales to appointment setting to customer support and back office support, it's a different level. And so a lot of it has to do with maturity and experience. So the 18-year-old really can't talk about mortgages with Mrs. Jones at 60 years old the way you and I could. And so,
Right.
maybe that's just the sort of thing where they need to watch a few movies and kind of understand it so they can pretend like they're an adult. and they've had 5 children. I don't want them to lie on the phone, but if they've seen it enough times, they can understand the vocabulary or the emotions that people go through. And so that's there. And I guess it's dedicated practice. I don't want people to go home and study script because that's like being punished. It's like the wheel of death in Conan. You just don't want to do that stuff. But there's ways to make it fun. And so in the beginning, I need to show them other speakers that were effective. And I grew up in the 80s, and so I give them my influence. I want them to watch Templeton Peck, which was Dirk Benedict on the A team as the face man. They need to watch Pierce Brosnan as Remington Steele. And they need to watch Basil Rathbone as Sherlock Holmes in the 30s and 40s. Why? Because that's what I did. Why? Because it's fun, damn it. And you get to watch the face man and be smooth and rewind it and look up some of the vocabulary words because Basil Rathbone speaks in Queen's English and I feel stupid. But it's almost like when they got excited when Jim Morrison in Miami caused that riot. And there's people that can move people in certain ways. And I don't like moving people for violence. I want people to ponder and to feel emotion. And so I want them to see that there are ways that you can present something more diplomatic, strategic, and as I'm saying, just in such a brighter light compared to most people that are just really lazy sometimes in their speech.
Hmm. So as we're talking, I'm listening to you. I hear that you really love and enjoy, I think, the growth of your business, of the people inside, more than anything else. That's what I'm getting from you. Would that be correct?
Paying it forward, my brother, of course. From the 1 dayer to the 15 year, it doesn't matter. Each one's an iceberg, how long they stay and what they do. But yeah, man, I do see the growth. It's incredible. And I know that I'm making that difference. I'm not taking full credit for it. But you know perfectly well Bobby Knight did something in Indiana for some of those players.
Uh, I don't know where else to go with this, Rob. I mean, you shared a whole bunch of stuff with me, just like diving into like telemarketing, but your communication, like I really love how you're expressing, just defining different words and, helping I don't know. I know you said 18 years old, but do you usually get them around 20 or something, maybe coming in and you have to start there, even though they got some,
Of
so,
course. My
they've been
oldest
in the real
agent,
world
I
for a little
think's
bit.
in their 60s. I got people
Okay.
with gray hairs working here. They just are very slow on the computer, but they're perfect for other projects. I
Yeah.
believe in right bus, right seat. I was a left wingman when I started and ended up as goalie. So, things like that happen. Um, I'm very fortunate. I see what I have as a luxury trade. I don't laugh at the gods and the stars, but I still can't believe what happened to me. This
Mhm.
shouldn't have happened. I mean, come on, man. Who runs a call center in Costa Rica?
But you did it. Like you put your heart out there. You risked everything on the line in a sense. You shared all that. And so
Yeah,
that's why you deserve to be where you are.
but John, my brother, tomorrow we shall die. Don't you understand? And
We're
I
all
hate
gonna
what
die sometime.
and I hate waiting for things that from other people. I like to at least make my own self progress. That's why I'm very big into the gym. I'm
Mhm.
into collecting pinball machines. I'm into washing my car on Sundays.
Mhm.
Why? Because I can control that. I like those things. It's my decompression. It's Richard time. I don't want to pretend like I like golf, even though I do, but there's a lot of people that hate golf, but will still play it. Come on, man. If you really love doing something, then do it.
Right.
And I love my pinball machines. And so um, it's one of those things I've done here at the office as well, John. You're asking what I'm doing differently. Well, I do collect machines. I got 11 pinball machines. I got air hockey tables, Pac-Man, and jukeboxes. Why? A, I got the space. B, I think recess was the best class in the world. And instead of my agent sitting in a corner looking at Japanese anime or outside having a smoke, they're hanging out with me and you in the game room. And guess what, my man? When you get to see somebody laugh, that's a huge different side of them you'd never seen before. And it makes them vulnerable. Why? Because they're laughing. You can tease how they laugh, or just you're seeing them giggling. And so um, I've seen people fall in love by the Pac-Man machine. I've had people that take me on in air hockey, and after I kick their ass, they're still very cool with it. And all of a sudden, they're cool with Hefe. And so I needed that medium. I needed that safe space, not in a corner because people are teasing you. No, the safe space for you to play, like the playground. That's a safe space. It
Hmm.
doesn't have to be isolation, it's unity. And just because we're adults doesn't mean we can't have fun. Everyone's so serious. It's like, remember Willy Wonka's place? You had an
Oh
incredible
yeah.
factory, but you had that room with the chocolate river and you could eat anything. And so when my clients would come and visit and they would walk through, and it's a real arcade, I got about 15 machines in there, plus the air hockey table. It's great. It's like a childhood dream. And when they see this, they look at me and I have, hey guys, how come you don't have this back in Chicago? How come you don't have a couple machines at your own house? And why aren't you treating your people like this? I mean, it's a direct indication that I love my people because I want them to have toys and I want them to play. And it's almost like, do you remember the movie Starship Troopers? In between
Yes,
their
I
battles,
do.
the guy opens up and there's the football and the violin. He goes, have fun, have
That's
drinks,
right.
do your night. And they're 1,000% correct. That's why Marines rest in between battles. That's why boxers get their corners in between rounds. And you'd be stupid and foolish to go isolate yourself, have that cigarette, or do something that doesn't recharge your batteries, or as a runner does, where they run in place of the light. You never, ever, ever want to ice a kicker, especially during an 8 hour shift. We're
Mhm.
gladiators. You got to stay hot the whole time. You got to find ways to motivate you. And now that people are working from home, my brother, it's not like you and I can high five and feed off of that synergy. These people, I don't know how they get that self motivation like we used to have when the center was packed. Everyone's home now. I'm
Right.
thankful for it, but man, it's changed. It used to be the old school way, like the Breakfast Club, where they didn't have those cell phones. They had to talk for 10 hours.
Yeah, oh, God forbid.
Right. And today I see tables downstairs of five people and they're all on the phone looking at that anime and I just don't get it. And so, and I tease them. They're like, okay, grandpa. I'm like, damn, that hurt. That really hurt. And
Yeah,
so, it's the new generation. So you're asking about these 18-year-olds, extremely highly intelligent, but unfortunately a little bit introverted, or they just don't have the repetitive experience of this sort of social interaction that we had. Either it was through COVID or these children that instead of hanging out at a sleepover or going somewhere, even though they're interacting on these online games where they're talking and playing, either you're in or you're out. I mean, a lot of guys, that's the only way to have a social life. And so my heart goes out to them. As much as it sounds like fun, it's all right. I mean, you and I used to just play in television or ColecoVision, and then you turn it off and go outside and start playing our football. You
exactly.
know,
Yeah,
it's
exactly. Yeah. Oh, we're done school. Let's go. Yeah.
yeah, we're done school. We play the games when the lights come on and mom yells at you, or it's early in the morning or late in the night. But most of the time, we're outside playing. And so I feel for these kids. They never played the capture the flag, and they never rode the bike to their friend's house to knock on the door and see if Johnny's available. Can he come out and
Hmm.
play? And so, um, what are you going to do? And so maybe if I can teach them that through this interactive play, which once again is electromechanical and games, and it's not boring. It's not like like we're doing chess or checkers, but I tried to make it as youthful and fun and exciting as possible, and it seemed to work. Thankfully, yeah.
That's good. Yeah, it sounds like you got a great culture going on, and that's what's more important, right? You bring the right people in and they stay there. And again, we already spoke about growth, so they're always going to continue to grow. I mean, I think if I was somewhere when they had pinball machines, I probably wouldn't be walking away anytime soon. That's for sure, Um, there's no place I've been to, working and they had anything like that. I think the one place had a gym, but that's whatever people want to work out when they're at work for whatever reason. But no, Robert, this has been awesome. You just shared a whole bunch of stuff again. I appreciate this. Inside and outside of telemarketing, your mindset, growth, personal growth, and I'm glad we connected and you're able to enlighten the listeners and viewers for this.
Yeah.
So how does somebody like reach out to you to either learn more about your business or however else you might be able to help somebody on the outside?
Of course. And I can't thank you enough. They can always send me an email, CEO at Costa Rica's callcenter.com, or when it gets really cold, they can buy a ticket, come
There you
down and
go.
fly down and visit me. And I guess my last bit of advice for you and your amazing audience, and it's very simple, it's just not to be hard on yourself. I think it's very important, if I can speak in a general way, that you must look at your eyes at the end of the day and realize, regardless of the outcome, you did things with good faith and good intentions, and I know a lot of military people talk about making your bed. There's a lot of symbolism and structure behind that, and I agree with that. If you're capable of having a good diet and physiologically feel good by hitting the gym, I would suggest that. I don't want to sound like I'm grilling you or your mother, but these are the sort of things that have assisted me with my center and my balance. And I'm not just talking about physically, I'm definitely talking about mentally and spiritually. And I want to be able to still have a strong back in my 60s and 70s. And I still want to enjoy my life. But John, my man, I can't thank you enough. I had an excellent time today, and I hope I was able to explore these incredible, crazy topics in the outsourcing industry.
Absolutely. And I had one last question I ask everybody, but you kind of already took it there.
What's
So
that?
it's what are three key things you've learned and used along your journey? And you kind of carried that out towards the end there already. But if there's something else that comes to mind, feel free to share it.
Hmm. God, there's so many to choose. I like gratitude.
Mm.
There's been a lot of open doors and wind in my sails along the way. I think also being humble is nice. It's good to be confident, but you should also be humble. And being a guest in another country, that put me in that position. And the third thing, I guess the only way to explain it is just live life with the most intensity that you can in your own way. Why? Because there's that special magic that you get when you connect with other people, this electromagnetic energy. And you can have good days and rainy Sundays and stuff, but if you find ways to pay it forward, compliment others, chest out, shoulders back, chin up, and smile and look in eyes, sure, 10% of the people are going to hate you, but there will be strangers that will want to be your friends. And you might say something to that one person at that one time in life that they needed that. And for some odd reason, you and I are the flame of that candle that's just passing it to the next candle and in our own little ways. And so my being here on your podcast and in Costa Rica, I feel like it's just not a repetitive day, that I'm here to see a friend, make more friends, and just see what I can do just to get every little ounce of life as I can. And yeah, that's my philosophy and all that, my brother.
That's awesome. Yeah, I love it. Yeah, and that's what it's all about, just coming together, sharing whatever experience, anything of growth that you went through, and hopefully it changes somebody else's life that needs to hear it. So
That's
thank,
right.
yeah, thank you. I appreciate this. So thanks for coming on. I'm glad we connected and let's stay in touch.
You got it, my man. Talk to you soon.
All right, take care.